All right, I guess we're ready to go. What I'd like to do is call our June meeting to order with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To
of
the flag
the United States of America,
America,
and to the
to
to
republic
the republic
and
that stands
for which it
nation,
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
God,
indivisible,
justice
and
for all.
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
All right, thank you. I just want to start the meeting by saying we did advertise and let the public know they are welcome to listen into this call. If there is any public on, I just ask that they mute their phones. And if we have adequate time at the end, we could allow some public comment. But, we do have to take care of getting through the town business first. So, anybody that is not in the public, please put your phones on mute. Okay, let's get started with the approval of prior town board meeting minutes. Anybody have any questions?
Bob, you probably didn't see, I just sent out an email that I clarified the grant section, that Mary had them a little bit confused. Basically, I said that it was the 2019 Iroquois grant that I was asking for the extension on, that we filed the AARP Community Challenge grant on May 15th, and that was for park benches and materials for the Veterans Monument, and then the 2028 or Iroquois grant we filed May 1st. So that was the clarification that you probably didn't see.
Okay, I'm not hearing you too well. Is that Mary talking?
Yep, that's Dawn. Is this any better?
Dawn, okay. You're not coming through too clearly. I'm not sure what the problem is.
Okay, I will try and speak louder.
Okay.
So I just said that I clarified the grant paragraphs, that they were a little bit jumbled. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was the Iroquois grant for 2019 that I asked for the extension, that we filed the AARP Community Challenge grant on May 15th, and that we filed the Iroquois grant on May 1st. So that's basically the clarification.
Okay.
Okay, with with that correction, anybody want to make a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, written communications. Start with the clerk report, please, Mary.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. For the month of May, the town clerk's report. Dog licenses, $7.50. Town clerk fees, vital statistics, $2. Interest as through 4/30, 2 cents. Miscellaneous, a refund, $117.07. And Columbia County Solid Waste, $1.50. Total check to the general fund, $146.09. Trust and agency, escrow for Clemente, $350, and escrow for Joyful Acres, $1,084.90. Total trust and agency, $1,416.90. Paid to New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, $3. Paid to Columbia County Solid Waste, $18.50. So the total for the month of May was $1,584.69.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I'll accept your report. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, mail review. Do we have anything from the mail?
I just have a couple of things. There will be a presidential primary Democratic election, and that will be held on June 23rd, 2020. And the hours will be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And there will be a Republican representative, U.S. Congress for the 19th Congressional District. And also, I believe there's still going to be early voting. Dawn, you might know.
Yes, there's still early voting.
Okay, June 13th through June 21st. And there are varied hours. I think the best thing to do would be to contact the Board of Elections and get the hours. And I do believe I have it posted in the hall when we can get back into the town hall. but it runs through June 13th to 21st. And then
There is early voting, and it's all at Board of Elections, 401 State Street.
right at 401 State, yes, county office building. Okay, that's all I have.
So, no, you talked about primaries. Is there a Republican primary?
Yes, it is for the U.S. Congressional, for the U.S. Congress, the 19th Congressional District.
And do you know who the candidates are?
No, I actually don't. I did not look it up. I haven't seen much about it, but it does say on this mail that I got from the Board of Elections. So I'm assuming we're in the 19th, right, Dawn? The 19th?
Yeah,
That's
No,
correct.
yeah. I thought so. Yes, so I'm not sure who it is. It may be Antonio Delgado, maybe now in the position. I don't know who would be running against. I did see it, but I don't remember their names now.
Well, if there's a primary, there must be two Republicans that are running, right?
I think actually there were three. If I
Three.
remember correctly. I did see it, but I forget now who it was. Sorry, I should have written them down. That's it.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Mary. Correspondence to Web Committee. We'll just cover that in Chris's report if there's anything to update on the Web Committee. So let's move on to committee reports and updates. We'll start out with Bob.
All right. I know you've got on the agenda also about the park update, but I've got a couple of comments on the signs that the proofs were sent out for. One of the things is an omission that we should have some similar language on there, like we have on the sign by the swings, that has to do with people going through at their own risk. The one at the swings reads, and this was language that was crafted with and approved by our attorney when that sign was put up. It says, individuals using the playground do so at their own risk. The town of Claremont assumes no duty to supervise those using the playground. I'd suggest we change the word playground to park and basically use that wording. And then there's a second part to it, number 2, all children must be supervised by a parent or guardian. Now, I know those signs are already pretty full, and this will make it even a little more, so we may need to go to 3 signs instead of 2. And if that's the case, I think rather than putting them side by side, they should be started out near the entrance, and then a little further on the next one, and further on the next one, so people aren't trying to read all 3 at once. They can read them individually. And that probably would be a good idea even if we only had 2 signs.
Well, I mean, we certainly can make the sign a little bit bigger to accommodate that wording as well from the attorney's recommendation. But
I'm just wondering, I have not seen that language. I know we have it on the other town sign, but I have not seen that at other parks. And I'm wondering the necessity of that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are not going on the sign that, could potentially.
Yeah. That was something that in consultation with our attorney, when we put the swings up, that we felt we should have something like that in case somebody gets hurt, that we have some defense as far as assuming responsibility. And that was mentioned quite a while ago when we first started talking about the signs, and then kind of got lost in the shuffle, I think, and it just kind of occurred to me again recently. That's why I went over and copied down the wording that we had there, which again, as I said, was done by our attorney at the time.
I just don't know what language. I think we do have a lot on the sign already, and we do have adequate insurance, liability insurance for the park. I feel like it's not something that I've seen as a standard. I'm looking at the Tivoli Park sign right now. It does not have anything, to say that you're at the park at your own risk. I would just like to sort of better understand the utility of adding additional language. We've tried to make the sign friendly, encouraging of outdoor activity for park users and the like. So I think that we obviously want to establish some rules, but not be so heavy-handed, I guess.
I don't think that that's heavy-handed at all. I think it's something that's necessary, and that's why we discussed it with our attorney when we first put up the swings. And we also should indicate that children should be supervised by a parent or guardian. If other parks don't have that, I don't have any responsibility there, but as a responsible member of the board, I think we should have that on as we come into the park. I don't know. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
This is something we certainly could, run by our attorney, let him take a look at the proof we have and see if he recommends that we add that language just like we did with the other one. Or if he doesn't think it's necessary, but at least get his opinion on this.
That seems fine. I also don't think, I don't honestly know what like the legal parameters around children being attended or not at the park, but I certainly wouldn't make that a requirement.
I don't know if it's actually a requirement or if it's just if we state it and then something happens, we have a leg to stand on if something happens, Not restricting it, but basically saying that's what we expect. I think it's just a legal standpoint.
I know, but it just has implications, right? Like, why shouldn't a kid be able to walk over to the park with some friends and, pick up, play ball or whatnot, right? Like, I don't know. If it's not necessary, it's not something that I see on other signs. I just don't really see the need for it.
I appreciate what Lindsay just said. If every child needs to wait for a parent to accompany them, the parks are never going to be used.
Well, I didn't get that last remark. What was that?
I said, I appreciate what Lindsay's saying. If a child needs to wait for a parent to accompany them over to the park will be empty.
I don't think it's going to be empty. Mostly what I see there now is children. Most of them that I've seen are accompanied by an adult.
I think that's right. I think we should depend on if it's not any necessity, then I think we should depend on the, parenting skills and common sense of the people in our community to make those choices for themselves.
Well, Chris, did you have something to say? I think Chris was going to say something. Chris?
Yeah, I was just thinking that it should be based on age. If you've got a 60-year-old running over to the park by himself, that maybe we do need a sign. If you've got a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, that's perfectly fine. So it may just be, maybe something that indicates a certain age or under should be accompanied by an adult. And I think that's reasonable.
We could change that. That wasn't what was on the other sign, but that sounds reasonable to me because again, older, teenage children, somebody could get confused with that. They don't really need to be accompanied, I don't think, but the younger ones should. Well,
I think maybe the easiest thing to do is let's ask the attorney what he thinks if he says that he feels it's necessary. If he doesn't feel it's necessary, that's a whole different discussion. But if he feels that it's necessary that there is some kind of wording to cover us with more liability, then we should discuss that as well. So I think the best thing we would do is just to go run it by him quick and let us know.
All right. So between now and the next meeting, we should get that information, and because we probably won't get this finalized at this meeting anyway, right?
Well, I would just like to say that we need to have this finalized. Like, there are people over at the park in greater numbers, which is wonderful to see that activity. But I would really suggest that we try to make a decision on this sign this evening and get that up because it's only going to increase. School is out on June 12th. At least
well, I'm not ready to vote to approve it until we actually get together where we can lay it out and see it all together And there's, just trying to do it over the phone just isn't good.
Well, we
I'm
can
in
get
agreement with Bob.
What?
I don't know
I'm in
if it's
agreement
really.
with Bob. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ray.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying, I'm in agreement with Bob. I'd like to do this more in person where the community can be more involved and state their opinions. And I think I've already stated my opinion on some of the rules, and I'm going to decline it as is anyway. But that's my opinion.
Well, I think the thing we do is to run it by the attorney to get an opinion from him before we go ahead and approve the sign. If we want to wait until the next meeting, that's one thing. If we want to get his opinion and circulate that and try to do it over the phone and correspondence, emails, that's another thing. But I would like to run it by him before we make a decision not to put it on there.
Okay. Now there's another item on the sign that I want to just talk about briefly too. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to, keep belaboring one point. But it says report concerns, notify law enforcement of any concerns or hazardous conditions by calling Columbia County 911 or the Columbia County Sheriff's Department. I don't think we should be telling people to call 911 for every concern that they may come up with. That's 911 is for emergencies where if somebody's bleeding, people know to call 911. You get an ambulance there, or if there's an accident. But it's just kind of vague. If depends, people have different opinions of what a hazardous condition is. If there's a hazardous condition, 911 is not going to fix that anyway. The town is going to have to fix it.
You're talking about the small one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intention is hazardous, like a fire or, something that was more of an emergency situation.
Do you have a suggestion how that can be clarified to stress that 911 should be called only in an emergency?
Maybe that would help, or maybe leave 911 out and just say call the sheriff's department. I mean, for example, somebody might see kids coming in there on bicycles without helmets, and they might, that's not something you need to call 911 on, but you might want to call the sheriff's department for that. In fact, I had 5 kids on Pleasantville Road last week riding without helmets, and one of the sheriffs, deputy sheriffs, was monitoring traffic on Route 9 near the park. So I just actually stopped and asked him, and he said, "Well, they should be wearing helmets, and you could call the sheriff's department, and if they have somebody that can get there, they'll do it. If not, and the problem with that one was that once they go down Pleasantville Road, you're not sure if they're going to turn onto Commons or keep going into Livingston or what. So it gets a little difficult. But that's the kind of thing that maybe you could call the sheriff's department, but I wouldn't want to see people calling 911 for that.
I don't really see too much of an issue with the wording on that sign because most people are gonna you got to use common sense. 911 is for emergencies. I think most people know that. And then if there's a problem with anything else, that sheriffs would handle, I think people probably can make that differentiate the two.
I'm okay with the language. I'm of the same thought as Ray.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Chris, you have any thoughts on that?
On that particular line, no. I could throw out a few other comments though. I'm looking at illegal drugs, and I don't know why illegal drugs are not allowed in the park. I mean, I understand that, but why do we need to say anything illegal is not allowed? I think if you want to address that, maybe recreational drugs are not allowed. that might be more appropriate. But to indicate illegal things are not allowed, I think is a waste of ink. And,
Yeah,
you could go along with fireworks, firearms, and weapons. If it's illegal, it shouldn't be there. Why put it on the sign?
If you go back to I believe it was the August minutes where we reviewed the language that was recommended by the park committee, that was spelled out there very clearly, and that's why it's on the sign.
Okay.
All right.
Doesn't change the fact. I mean, we're saying that illegal things are not allowed. That's what we want to put. I guess we can list out a whole lot of laws.
I don't have too much of an opinion either way on that. Drugs could have been fine, illegal drugs. I mean, the point is there. I mean, I guess you can pick at anything if you look at the wording on anything and try to change it. But I mean, I think this kind of covers what our idea is. I think
right.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I think if you don't address recreational drugs, you're actually leaving that as an open door to do it.
What's a recreational drug?
Well, I think it's only a matter
right now
of
it's
time
illegal.
before it becomes marijuana.
Right. But as of now, it's illegal, right?
Right. So when marijuana becomes legal, that means people can do marijuana in our state park or our town park if we don't address it.
what if we
Not
just
if they're
said,
smoking it. Not
right.
for smoking it.
You don't need to smoke it.
Right. Or vaping.
I wonder, Chris, if just drug use would be, would make more sense. I mean, I do understand your point here. I think we're just trying to carve out, like a safe space, for park users.
Right, but then drugs, you're impeding on legal medications prescribed. I don't know.
I mean, I agree. It's perhaps redundant in existing law, but I think it's just trying to set a tone for the park of safety and security, whether it's really necessary or not. And certainly, that's the intention.
I'm fine if you strike the word illegal and just say drugs.
I can let it go either way. I think either way is fine. Illegal drugs is fine. I mean, if they would legalize marijuana, then I guess as long as it's not smoking or vaping it, then I guess what are you going to do? If it's legal, then you should be able to do it. But I think it's going to be a while. What's that?
You want to allow alcohol too?
No, alcohol is listed on there. It's not allowed.
Right. So you're going to say no alcohol, but marijuana is okay.
No, if they legalize it, what do you do?
Well, alcohol is legalized now.
That's why you say recreational, because it's legal, it's recreational, but we're saying it's not allowed.
Chris, I just think the illegal term is likely clearer to more people. I understand what you're saying, but again, it's
I don't think so. I disagree. Illegal means it's against the law. Recreational means it may be legal, but you're making the same statement as alcohol when you say recreational. That's what alcohol is. Alcohol is a recreational drug.
So
we should probably just switch it to alcohol or drug use.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's better. No alcohol or drug use.
Well,
that covers everything. It just says period, no drug use. I mean, that covers everything, doesn't it?
Well, I still think you want to have the word alcohol and smoking in there.
No, smoking, vaping, alcohol, or drug use.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, I thought you were saying
that would cover recreation. Yeah, that would cover recreation. That would cover illegal. It would cover all drugs then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one edit.
I know there's been a lot of discussion over the firearms and weapons line, and Chris, I totally understand your argument, and I do not disagree with you, but as far as all state parks and recreation code and laws everywhere, and schools everywhere where there's kids involved, firearms just aren't allowed. So that's the only reason why I would go along with this. I know you're going to disagree, but you're going to have to agree to disagree, I'm afraid.
That's okay. I'll still disagree.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand your argument.
Could we change that to no display of or discharging of firearms?
No, that doesn't really go along with the state and the recreation laws. So I think the way it's worded is correct.
You have an example of another park that shows it?
What's that?
Do you have an example of another park, public park, that lists that out on a sign?
Lindsay, what does Tivoli sign refer to that?
Tivoli does not have it, no, on their park sign, they do not. I don't know about Red Hook. I have a picture of their sign somewhere, but this is also consistent with our own internal policy.
Workplace violence, I think, is what you referred to, which I disagree with. I think that's a stretch to implicate the entire community to our workplace violence document.
Well, this is not the entire community. This is town-owned land, which is specified in the
it's the community. It's a public park. It's the town's public park, so you're implicating the entire community.
Well, our existing policy says it's strictly prohibited to have possession of firearms or dangerous weapons while on town property. So we could change that.
In the workplace violence. Workplace violence. I don't think our entire community has to abide by our workplace violence document. So I disagree.
But we also have an exception in the workplace violence also, don't we? For people in the course of their, where the weapons are required in the course of their employment?
I do believe there is language to that effect.
Yeah.
We're talking about a park that is going to have kids and families running around, and any place you go to, firearms, I'm telling you, it should not be allowed. And I have to agree with that. And I understand the argument that we should allow it, but I have to side with not allowing it.
For me, it's very much like a school, that firearms are not allowed in the school.
It's not a school. It is not a school. It's a park.
No, I appreciate that, but in my mind, the safety is consistent.
Oh, I agree. Safety is my concern. What better soft target do you have than one that disallows any kind of firearm from anyone else that's going to be there? Perfect soft target.
I agree with that argument. It's been made on every occasion, every place, but I just have to disagree with you because I'm afraid to.
That's okay.
Agree to disagree.
Somebody gets hurt, it's on you, not me.
Yeah, I know. All right.
If we change to no display or discharge of it, that then doesn't preclude somebody that's a law-abiding citizen being able to take out somebody that thinks they've got a soft target. We can still think about that a little bit because we're not going to approve this till next meeting anyway, right?
Well, I want to get the attorney's opinion if we need to add that other wording. So that's the first thing I want to do, and we can circulate that as soon as I get the word back from him. If we want to wait till the next meeting to go over this and hash out some more of these details, then that's fine if everybody agrees.
I mean, certainly, I think we should get feedback on the liability concerns that were raised. Bob, to your point, the distinction made in the workplace violence prevention program policy for the town is only in regards to town employees. I mean, I'm much more comfortable within the town property on the park that it's just a very clear rule for the public that firearms are not permitted.
I'll also run it by the attorney to see how he feels if we were to add that no display or discharge and see what his opinion is. I know what it is already, but I'm going to ask him again to see what he feels if we did change that wording.
Okay.
I think
But then,
I appreciate his point about moving this along because summer is coming and the park is going to be busier. If we can do some email exchange and things like that prior to the next meeting so that we can kind of guarantee ourselves that we do approve it at that point, I think is all the better.
okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll get the answers back and send it around to everybody and talk about it and see if we can't come to an agreement beforehand. All right. I just noticed again on my agenda that I still didn't correct Lindsay's name. I said it would never happen again. I got Evan on here again, I believe. I apologize again for that. I was been a little behind the eight ball this month, so I will make sure this time I definitely will take it out of the system. So
Change it everywhere.
yeah, I'm telling you. So I don't know, Lindsay, you have other stuff you want to talk about on this besides the sign?
Yeah, the other thing that there's a couple of things related to the park that I wanted to pass on from the committee. One, just on the theme of safety, I guess, according to neighbors, there have been more kids climbing on the piles next to the stream. So the committee still would very much like to move those piles and is going to come up with a suggested location for moving those piles and perhaps like a way to screen those piles and keep kids off of them. Hopefully they might be able to have that ready for the board to look at by the next meeting. And the other thing is we were wondering about the adoption of the plan and what form that would take by the board. I told them that, we just can't do this over the phone. We need to have an in-person meeting for that. But Ray, perhaps if you're speaking with the town lawyer, you could get some direction as to how we could officially receive or adopt the entire plan or some summary of the plan or, main points or something like that, which would enable within grant proposals and the like, us to acknowledge that this is the official plan for the park.
Okay.
I would prefer that we accept the plan, as a guide, as opposed to adopting it, which would indicate we were going to do everything that's in there.
Yes.
In the way it's in there.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Bob, that's certainly the intention of the committee, that it's a guide, but I guess just understanding how do we do that? Like, what are the logistics to recognizing that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that there's reason for accepting the plan, as Mary Howard had pointed out at one point, that if when we had something in there about sidewalks, which we're probably not going to do anytime in the near future, but if the state ever came through and they were redoing that whole highway and we wanted them to put the sidewalks in, then because we had it in a plan that we had I'll say accepted as opposed to approved, that we'd have something to stand on to get the state to do that. Now that's not going to come about anytime soon, but anyway, that's all I have on that.
All right, well, I'll get his opinion on what we need to do as far as adopt it as a guide, a plan, or, accept it. See if he has any feelings one way or the other since I'm talking to him anyway.
Terrific. And I guess the last, related to the plan, Bob, if you have any I know that you had some changes that you wanted, some edits that you wanted to make in the plan. If you want to write those down or call me or whatever, I'm happy to help facilitate those changes, because I know, for instance, like there were some factual issues perhaps in like the history of the park and so on. I'd love to help clean that up so we can get it more ready for that process.
All right, I have to go back through it again. I know we mentioned some things at the last board meeting that we had everybody together, and there were some things that actually needed to be corrected, and I thought those corrections were being made. I haven't gone through and checked the later version of it to see.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not certain that all those things were communicated. Which is and I guess the last thing is that we did make a form that, Chris, I can send to you for any individuals interested in being part of the park committee or just volunteering, that we can put on the general Claremont, New York website. So at the last meeting, we discussed how can more people get involved in the park committee. Now we'll have a way for easy thing for people to fill out and express whether they'd like to be on the committee or as a sort of casual volunteer.
Okay, good. All right, so the only other thing I want to comment back on is the piles, moving the piles. I know you said the committee's coming up with some sites to move it. They have to keep in mind if they think those piles are getting moved, they have to be somewhere that the highway department can access readily, because they do use that stuff. They go in and out, they dump there, they pick it up, they load it. They have to get there with a loader and a dump truck and load it.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge because we don't have the footprint to really have a lot of options to move that stuff. So it's going to be hard to find a place for all of it. So let them keep that in mind when they're thinking of a different location.
Yeah, I think the intention was to talk to the highway department and see what their needs were, and just like measure out the space that it's taking now and see if there's an alternative or two.
Okay. All right.
Now I've got a couple other comments relating to the park. Ray, I don't know if you want to wait till old business and let the other committee reports, if there are any, be done, or you want to just, since we've spent so much time on it now, maybe we can quickly get it out of the way.
Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
All right. Well, the one thing that on the agenda for the park committee meeting that was on Sunday, there was you had on the Veterans Knoll path, alternate route, additional path from Town Hall. And I know there's been quite a bit of discussion on the path that you and I, Ray, and Jimmy had kind of laid out, and Chris, I know you've looked at it also, and maybe others. And then Amy had a alternate plan to that, which in talking with Jimmy, it's going to be a lot more work and a lot more material, and it's not going to, in my opinion, it's not going to give the same gentle slope that we're talking about, the one that we had laid out. Now, I know that sometimes it helps to look at that in person together. So maybe, Lindsay, I don't know if you want to get in on that, or any of the other committee members, if we could meet over there sometime during the day or in the evening or on a weekend.
That's a great idea.
Talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, Bob, I was supposed to leave you. I don't know if you saw her proposed route. It's not from sort of the town hall complex through the back, but it's just more.
I didn't get the one that you referred to, and you did leave some stuff with Mary that she gave to me, and I did see that from Ray that had showed me the pictures, and I kind of went over and looked at it, and it kind of winds around, and there's some real problems with doing it that way.
Okay, I think it'd be an in-person meeting. Sounds like a good idea. I think her concern was maybe the steepness of the proposed path, and also the route. So yes, I think an in-person meeting would be terrific and would make a lot of sense. I'm happy to follow up with Amy on that and then reach out to you to find a time.
Okay. That sounds good. And pretty much any day, I mean, I do have a few things in conflicts on my calendar, but for the most part, any day or evening or weekend would, we can probably work it out.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Very good.
All right. And the last, just quick comment, I also noticed on the new business agenda for the park committee, it had an item 6B, planning seek neighbor approval for perimeter planning plan. We certainly should take the input and give consideration, but we do not need approval from any of the neighbors for things that we do on the park property. So I don't know, I don't want to give the idea that they have approval rights. Certainly we want their input, and we'll consider everything that's requested or asked for, or whatever.
Yeah, Bob, thanks for pointing that out. We did not get to that agenda item, actually, or even close to it on Sunday. So, yeah, I think that probably making that clarification is worthwhile. The general idea is to get input from neighbors as to screening requests. Generally, the need is really just to. There are some parts of the park where it's very unclear whose property you're on, and so trying to prioritize those areas.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
All right. So we'll stay tuned for that one.
I guess that's enough for now.
All right, let's move on to Chris. Chris, you got anything to add?
Yeah, not really much. The GTEL actually updated our website. So I'm not sure if they actually relocated it or moved it, but there was an approval process that I needed to work with GTEL on, and that was for updating our website. Other than that, it's just the constant updates that we've been doing. Mostly for the coronavirus stuff and the canceled meetings and the reopening and such. Fair amount of website updates, but that's about all. That's all I got, Ray.
Okay, and thank you for taking care of all that with all the updates in the website.
Oh, not a problem at all.
Okay, all right, Dawn.
The first was I said I would contact the Iroquois pipeline company and find out if they would give us an extension on the 2019 grant. I have been in contact with someone there, and she was supposed to give me her answer last Thursday, and I've not heard back from her. I did email her this morning, and I still have not heard back. It's a new person that's taken over the grant this year, and I think she's being cautious. And at one point she wanted to review the grant, and she was going to have to go into the office to do that. I sent her a copy of the grant that we submitted, and I've still not heard from her. So I will continue to follow up on that, but at this point, it doesn't seem like she's in any hurry either. So if she decides we need to put the fence rails in, I don't think there's any big hurry. The other is that we last met on May 15th with Lindsay's help. We submitted a grant to the AARP Community Challenge Grant, and that was for materials for the path for the path up to the Veterans Monument. And also, I know last meeting I said 5 park benches, but we did 10 park benches, and it was a little bit more than $9,000 for that. And we should hear back the first week of July if we are approved for that or not. It's a national grant. I don't know how competitive it will be. And they did come back and say that you could use a particular category for COVID-19 related issues. If that will be a little bit of a shift in the funding to those items, I'm not sure. And the last that the 2020 Iroquois grant, we should hear about in 2 weeks whether or not that was approved. That was also a little bit more than $9,000. and that was 77 trees and materials for to protect the trees from deer. So that should be coming up soon.
Excellent. And if you get any of those, that would be great and helpful. So that's awesome. I appreciate you keeping an ear to the, to find out where we are. So thank you. All right. All right. I guess we'll move on to old business. I had the park update down here. I think we've pretty much went over everything with the park already, but I just want to thank everybody involved and the discussions and working on this, because the park committee, has done a lot of work on this. It's very difficult not meeting in person. I agree. And for the board, for us to make these decisions and not be able to look at everything and hash it out, it is very difficult. And I really appreciate everybody trying to work through this. I do plan on going to our regular meetings next month so we can get together and try to make it a little bit easier. I don't think there's much more of an update at this point. I think we've talked about everything. We have some stuff to discuss with the attorney. I'll get his opinion, and then I'll circulate that to everyone sometime, hopefully by the end of the week, so we can maybe try to look at getting this going before the next meeting. CHIPS funding. I just want to let everybody know that everything is pointed towards the CHIPS funding is still secure. The winter recovery money is still secure. As of right now, it's still on track, so we can hopefully get the reimbursement once we spend the money for the CHIPS. I still have told Jimmy to only spend what we plan on spending on CHIPS and not our town share, just in case, because the predictions coming from the county, which is kind of goes into new business, the predictions for sales tax from the county has dropped even more than what we thought before. They're saying that they're predicting anywhere from 20 to 30%, even up to 40 possibly, on sales tax revenues declining. So they're preparing for the worst, and they're cutting, furloughing day a week in salaries. They're cutting back on everything they can to save money, and actually took a loan out to protect ourselves in case we really do come short on the revenues. We may have to use the loan that we secured. So as far as the town going forward, we're safe. We do have fund balance to cover us if we need it. And I'm still holding out hope that the sales tax is going to rebound a little bit. I don't think it's going to be as bad as they're thinking. But if it is, I am being very conservative on anything we spend unnecessarily, which isn't a lot. Everybody sees our budget. We don't have a lot of wasted money or money that we have a luxury of not spending in it. So at this point, I think we're just going to continue to be as conservative as possible for the next few months. And the next sales tax payment will give us a good idea of what we're looking at as far as the revenues.
How soon will we know what the second quarter is going to look like?
I'll have probably the numbers in a couple of weeks. We won't get the check. We won't get the check that quick, but I'll have the numbers in a couple of weeks. So,
because I think the things have changed. A lot of people are ordering more stuff online, so you're not getting the sales tax through the stores, but we will still get it from the online orders for a lot of it, right?
Well, we will get some of that. There is no way for the county to quantify that and to come up with a number or a figure, and I think that's why they're preparing for the worst. But I do believe we will see some revenue from that, and it won't be as bad as they're predicting. But again, it's right now it's still unknown. So, other than that,
Ray, have you given any thought to, at what point is it July 15th that we need to kind of, if things are as dire as they say, that we should maybe have a workshop to go through the budget and see if there's any areas where we can cut spending?
Well, I'm going to look at the next revenue, as soon as I get the next revenue prediction from the sales tax in the county. Like I said, I'll have the next 2 weeks. Then I can determine how bad it looks, and then we may actually want to do that. We're almost getting to the point where it's going to be close to working on budgets for next year. So, right. But yeah, we may actually end up doing that depending on how bad it is predicted. So, I can let everybody know as soon as I get the predictions. I'll let everybody know where we're at. Reopening the town hall. Just wanted to mention, I know I told Chris to post this to the website. We are opening up the town hall slowly. The planning board does want to have their meeting on the 10th, so they'll be holding their meeting in the town hall. And Mary's going to open up her offices on the 13th. So we're going to start back up. I am going to hang a plastic curtain across Mary's doorway to keep people out so they can look through it and talk to her, but keep her out of her office. Everybody that enters the town hall must have a mask on, and hand sanitizer will be all over the place like it is now for people to use on the way in and out if possible, to try to keep it as clean as possible. The zoning board is going to hold their meeting as well at the end of the month, and we're scheduled to hold ours starting our July meeting. So basically, I think we're going to just, again, keep the distancing. We'll have to separate the crowd. If we have, people show up more than usual, we'll have to separate people for distancing in the audience. And obviously just common sense, again, try to proceed and get things rolling again. So it'll be interesting to see how it works.
Can you tell me, Ray, do you know the date of the zoning meeting?
Zoning is the 4th Wednesday. I don't know the date off the top of my head.
Okay. And those are all at 7 p.m.?
Yes, 7 p.m.
Great.
7:30.
7:30?
7:30, planning and zoning, yes.
I'm going to do another town email with all this information. So I'll send out a draft to make sure it's correct.
Okay.
Lindsay,
Thank you.
that's posted on the website under announcements.
The fourth Wednesday
wait.
is the 21st, right? Or 24th, rather.
The 24th. Zoning board is the 24th.
No,
And the planning board is the 10th.
zoning board will be on the 24th, and it is at 7:30.
7:30. All right. All right. Okay. Supervisor report. I don't have a lot to go over at this point. So I think we should move on to pay abstracts. Let's pay abstracts. We're running short on time.
All right, I'll move to pay highway abstract number 6, vouchers number 45 through 51, in the amount of $5,356.18.
Second, all in favor?
Who seconded, I'm
Aye.
sorry?
I did.
All right.
Dawn seconded.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, unless somebody else wants to,
I'll make a motion to pay highway abstract number 6, vouchers number 45 through 51, in the amount of $5,356.18.
We just
We
did
just did
that.
that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Bob
thought you
did that.
did.
Second.
Okay, so I do general abstract 6A, vouchers number 133 through 146, in the amount of $2,676.60.
and I'll move general
I
prepaid.
need a second on that one.
Oh, second.
I'll second.
Okay,
Who's that?
a second.
All
I
in
think
favor?
Bob seconded. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, I'll move general prepaid abstract number 6, vouchers number 126 through 132, the amount of $565.85.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Dawn seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Time.
Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you. All right. Does anybody else have anything else that we didn't discuss they want to bring up quick?
Did you have anything else in supervisor's report? You kind of skipped over that? Or?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of time. There's not a lot to really discuss. The county is in the same situation. They're saving on money wherever possible. Everything is kind of on semi-hold, and we're just trying to really ride it out to see what the next income, the sales tax brings us.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, there's not a lot more to discuss on that. I will allow public comment if we have any public that would like for like 2 questions if possible. Is there any public signed on?
I think their phones are all on mute.
Possibly.
I have a question for everybody. I know Lindsay and I, this is something we've spoken about briefly a couple of times, but not in a while. Is anybody hearing about need out there that's unmet? I know I volunteer to be the go-between for seniors who need shopping. And when I last checked with the Office for the Aging, they had not had anyone from Claremont reach out for that service. So I'm curious if there's need out there that's unmet.
I didn't hear Dawn too well. What was that for the shopping for seniors?
Right. I had volunteered to be the contact for that, for the volunteers. And when I reached out to the Office for the Aging, that we did have one volunteer, at that point they had not had any requests for that service from anyone from Claremont.
Okay.
So I'm curious if, how kids are getting fed, if that's going well with the schools, or, if there's just something else out there that's
I was the only volunteer.
Oh, yes.
Well, I tell you, I have not had any requests at town hall, phone number, personal number, and nobody's reached out to me for help or assistance.
No.
I haven't heard of any.
No.
So,
No, I haven't heard of anything either.
Okay.
As far as for shopping,
Right.
really food or.
Maybe no news is good news.
That's right. That's right.
I believe Claremont residents are resourceful and can handle themselves very well. So I think that's what we're seeing here.
Ray, you had mentioned at the last meeting that NYMER was going to send out some more face masks. Did we get them?
That is something that I was told several weeks ago, and I have not heard any follow-up to that at all. I was supposed to, actually, Bob asked me last week about it, and I was supposed to call and find out where it was, and I have not followed up on it with my surgery and stuff. So that is something I will make a call and send an email out and find out if they did receive them and why we haven't.
If people need masks, there still are quite a few packages in the town hall.
Yes, we do have probably a couple hundred of those cloth masks still. We do have plenty of hand sanitizer. I've been unable to hold another event to fill them and hand them out because of my situation. But if people do need them, we can certainly hand them out and fill containers.
Just so you know, Ray, I do have on the website a posting that indicates that we will be handing out more masks. I don't know if we need to take that down, or if you get an update, maybe we could clarify that on the website.
Yeah, what I'll do as soon as I find out from NYMER if we are receiving more, that would be nice because a couple hundred masks don't last very long. I was hoping to have that before we tried to do another handout. So I'll find that out this week, and I can let everybody know as well as soon as I hear on it.
Yeah, it would be good. I think if we're going to require masks at town hall, we should certainly keep some on hand for people who might not have them for whatever reason.
Yes, and I'd like to say I'd like to find them.
I've been carrying a few packages in the car, and sometimes I see people that look like they might need one. I ask them, and they say no, they're fine, and they're making masks, and they're getting them from different places. But I've had a few people that said yes, they'd like to have them, but it would be good if we could get a few more and have another date just in case somebody wants to come out.
Yeah, I'd be happy to volunteer or organize that, Ray, if that's useful. If we get
All right, I'll send an email out to everybody as soon as I find out if we have additional ones coming from NYMER. If not, we could go ahead and set it up immediately at some point to do it. So I'll let everybody know in the next couple of days. Okay, guess we had no public comment from anyone. So at this point, I'll get the information from the attorney, send it to everybody as soon as I can, and then we'll have some decisions to make going forward. But let's get the attorney's opinion on the signage, and then we can decide if we want to try and move this before we get to our next meeting or not. But let's get that information back and go from there. I'll send that out to everybody this week. If anybody else doesn't have any other questions or comments, I guess a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Second? second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for, again, going through another one of these calls. It's not the easiest, but I appreciate everybody's input.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, and Lindsay, you're gonna let me know if, when'd be a good time to get together with you and any of the committee members
Yeah.
at the park?
Yep, I'll send a notice out to the list tonight, and maybe Amy and Jen can coordinate. Get that taken care of. Thank you, Bob.
All right, I don't have a answering service on my phone here at the house, but you know, I can give you Joy's number, and she does have, and she's usually there, so she can give me a message also.
Okay.
It's a 518 number 537-6030.
Got it. All right.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, good night.
Right. Bye-bye.